Yo guys, what is going on? Got a ShineGreymon deck profile for you guys. I've been playing this a lot in the BT9 format, and we've seen some success with it in a couple of big events. This is a really solid, I think, anti-meta strategy, quote-unquote, just really good against a lot of the fast-paced decks that rely on one stacking, because a lot of them don't really have protection from DP reduction, of course, aside from Alphamon. But then you can also play things like Sakuyamon to prevent your opponent from being able to OTK you. Sunrise Buster is an amazingly broken support card that we got in the newest set. So yeah, let's just go ahead and talk into what my choices are for this old favorite deck of mine. So for the Digi Eggs, right off the bat, playing a little bit of an unconventional one. I'm actually just playing for Viximon. Viximon, I think, is a really solid Digitama for the early game. Once per turn, when you play an option card with a cost 2 or more, you get to trigger draw 1. This triggers off your Sunrise Buster as well as your Memory Boost. Now, I'm not really playing too many option cards, so honestly, this card is not an absolute must, but I find myself drawing more cards of this than I would off of, say, like an Upamon or something. I feel like a lot of the times, if your opponent knows what they're doing, they're not gonna necessarily, like, by the time you're down to 3, or if you're security, you're in a really bad position. Yeah, you've got memory tamers and stuff like that to gain memory off of, but you're typically only ever going to get like 1 to 2 swings maybe off of an Upamon in a single game. So that's kind of the idea behind it, but of course I don't think Upamon is incorrect. I just prefer the Vixie. So anyways, for the level 3s, I'm playing the Salamon X package, so 3 copies of Salamon, regular Salamon to recover 1, as well as 3 copies of Salamon X. This makes Salamon much better early game. Typically, in a lot of games, this card would kind of suck until, like I said, you got to that 3 security threshold. The problem now is that the game is so fast that you can't really... you can bounce back from that threshold sometimes, but it's typically like you're either in a really bad position, or you've just, like, the game's been going on long enough to where you've accumulated a lot of advantage, in which case you can just like hold this instead of evolving over the regular Salamon here. But X is really nice because it gets you like an extra resource to your hand. You can like promote a Salamon, like maybe turn 1 evolve this, play a Tamer, and then turn 2 like move this out, Digivolve, draw, and then look at the top of your security card, add it to your hand, and then recover 1 as well. So it's a really nice card to gain you advantage. And then the last rookies here, 2 copies of Pulsemon and 1 copy of Armadillomon. These are more as well for the consistency of the deck, just because it struggles a little bit because of the nature of the deck. You're playing so many Tamers option cards. Pulsemon, I think, is really good when, again, you're at that 3 security threshold. But even early game, just triggering drawing 1 is nice. This guy is really good to search all of your multicolor cards. So he searches any dual-colored yellow card, including option cards. So this can actually search Sunrise Buster. I was testing out multiples of this. I do really like Pulse and Armadillo in this deck, but I kind of made room for the Salamon package. If you didn't want to play Salamons or like Salamon X's, I'd probably cut like this for another Armadillomon, and then maybe play like I'd maybe cut like 2 of these for like 2 more Armadillos, and then like play 3 of like Armadillo Pulse, or you could maybe cut the Salamon altogether. It's totally up to you. Patamon is another really good rookie for this deck, starter deck Patamon. But of course, just space reasons and things like that. So that's it for the level 3s. For the level 4s, the hybrid count is pretty high in this deck, since we are playing a ton of Yellow Tamers. So 4 copies of Kaze and 3 copies of the Zephyrmon here. Kaze is definitely a little bit better. The DP doesn't really matter too much, and you're really not caring too much about like the boosting effect from Zephyr's one Digivolving. You're typically just wanting this because it's a 2 evolve on either a Digimon or a Tamer, or as Zephyr's only a 2 evolve on a Tamer. So evolving this over like a dude and breeding is pretty terrible, but sometimes it can happen if if you have like multiples of these. You can stack like a Zephyr on top of a Kaze to like draw multiple cards instead of just 1. So that's really nice. But anyways, 7 hybrids is really strong. You want to be able to hybrid for game like 2 to 3 hybrids the final turn, because this deck does have a really big issue with like actually dealing damage. So you typically just want to play the slow game like early on, and then accumulate a ton of advantage, and then when you're in your like last turn or 2, when you got like a bunch of Tamers on field and a ton of memory to work with, you can just like use like 2 to 3 hybrids in a turn. And the last champion here is just 2 copies of Pitomon. Blockers are okay this format, but really just for the 1 evolve is why I want him. Just something else to like cycle cards with on top of your rookies. And then for the level 5s, we got 4 copies of the yellow ShineGreymon. I'm actually not playing the red one in this specific version of this deck. I really do not think it's good whatsoever. There's, of course, the scenarios where, like, you can't grab it off a TK versus, like, this you can always grab off TK and then you'll still recover. But then, of course, the inherited Sec Attack +1, I think, is really, really valuable. You already have a way to play Tamers and still trigger their one plate effect, such as like TK and stuff, and I'll kind of get to that in a second. So I don't think you're missing out too much on the Red Rise. There's like a cool combo you can do if you're playing with Red Rise, and you like evolve a stack with like Egg, Rookie, and then like Kaze Zephyr, then you've got like 2 detaches with the Rise, so you can like Digiburst 2 times since it's not once per turn. That's pretty cute, but like I genuinely just think the Sec Attack 1 comes up like a lot more, and then of course just being like a yellow card. So yellow ShineGreymon I think is much better, and then for the other Rise, the kind of one of the best cards in this deck is going to be ShineGreymon X Antibody. So he Digivolves for 1 on top of red, on top of the ShineGreymon here. So you evolve for 1, and then of course you'll be able to have that inherited as well. And then on evolve, you get to play yellow or red Tamers, so basically any of your Tamers from your hand without paying the memory cost. That does trigger the on play because it doesn't specify otherwise. But then if you've got ShineGreymon or X Antibody in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, one of your opponent's Digimon gets -2000 for the turn for each yellow or red Tamer you have in play. So there's a couple things to note about that. For one, I'm not playing X Antibody in this deck, so you're really only getting that effect if you're like evolving on top of Rise himself. And then the mini shine effect is really, really nice. Like let's say you like Digivolve on, like you like promote a champion, like play this guy, play a Tamer, Digivolve this guy, play another Tamer, so you got 2 Tamers for free, and then you get to like -4000 on top of one of your opponent's Digimon. The only kind of thing that sucks is that you can't spread that out like Shine. It has to just be one of your opponent's Digimon. But then he's also got the other kind of passive Shine effect where you get +1k for each of your Tamers in play, which is not color restricted. So that part is just for all your Tamers. So typically, or pretty early on, you can get like Rise X on top of the ShineGreymon, which is why this one's so good, because then you're like checking 2 cards at like 11 to 12,000 after you've already like killed one of their Digimon. So it's like a pseudo level 6 without being the memory cost of like a level 6. You're usually not wanting to evolve this for 4, but at the worst case scenario, you can, and you still play a Tamer for free. And the last ultimate here is just 1 copy of Jet Stealth. This card's still broken, so in the scenarios when you want to climb really quickly to like a level 6, there you go, you still got that option. Then for level 6s, this is a ShineGreymon deck, so of course gotta play the boy himself. Only 2 copies because of the addition of ShineGreymon X, and also the fact that so many decks like kind of don't come into the field anymore. I think 2 is fine. Like this is definitely like enough. I think I probably wouldn't play more than this, maybe 3, but like I think this is fine. You really want to make room for a lot of the other yellow level 6s because they're so powerful in this deck. Namely, is going to be the 2 copies of Sakuyamon. You could honestly probably even bump this up a little bit more, but like I said, just because of space reasons, and you cycle enough cards in this deck, I think this is like okay. This is really, really powerful against basically every deck in the format. Grandest Metal Guru, Wargrey X, Alphamon, every basic 1-stack deck. This just prevents OTKs outright. The only deck that can typically ever do damage to you if you're resolving Sakuyamon is like Wargrey X if they like perfect stacked, and even then they're usually just checking 1 or 2. So the kind of strategy with like this deck is basically to just like set up your board and then like Sakuyamon them, like floodgate them until they promote their stack, and then you just like out their stack immediately with like Shine, Rise X, or Sunrise Buster, something like that. So that's kind of the general theory. The last level 6 here is just going to be 1 copy of the yellow ShineGreymon. So I'm playing this over the red ShineGreymon. The red ShineGreymon is kind of like a tool that's been used in this deck to like OTK. For those of you guys who don't know the red ShineGreymon, don't have it on me at this point, but its effect is basically like your turn, whenever one of your yellow or red Tamers is suspended, he gains Sec Attack +1 for the turn. It's not once per turn, so you can like, the general idea is like if you've got like, let's say 2 copies of Tai and Kari, and like you swing with a red ShineGreymon, you can suspend both of these minus their security Digimon by I think it's 2,000 each, yeah, so by 4,000, and then gain Sec Attack +2, checking 3 cards. That's really, really cool. I like that card a lot. However, ShineGreymon I think is better in more scenarios. So like in the scenario where you already have these, you're already checking 2, and then your opponent's Digimon like insecurity aren't killing you because they're -4k. and then you're also negging something by 6. So in the scenario where ShineGreymon is checking 3, but this is checking 2, and this also can neg something by 6 and add a security card to your hand, and is better early game as well, where ShineGreymon is only better late game. Plus you can also stick something like this underneath, so like if you've got this, you're essentially checking 4 cards anyways. I think WarGreymon just has like more utility in general, but I definitely do really like the red ShineGreymon from BT4, I believe. That guy's really cool. So anyways, that's going to be it for the yellow cards. And the last card here, last Digimon, just 1 copy of Dexmon. You can definitely, I was testing out Susan over the Suzanomon. I think that card's really, really good, but I don't think your matches necessarily are going to be grindy enough to where like that's better than this by like shuffling back 10 dudes. This is generally just better like against a lot of things. Just punishes tamers and you know decks like that span the field. So Dexmon, of course, don't need to explain how good that card is. And then for the tamers, we've got 4 copies of TK, the 3 copies of Tai Kari, 2 copies of TK Kari, 2 copies of Cody, and 2 copies of Zoe. So quite the lineup here. It's kind of tough making room for all these, and even this isn't like all of the yellow tamers that are like good in the game. I think 4 TK, just for consistency purposes, I like a lot. 3 you can get away with, but 4 is really, really powerful, especially when you can play this off of Rise X and then still get the +1 off of his effect. Tai Kari is probably the second best tamer in the deck, just because it's red-yellow, so it helps you play Sunrise Buster out from your hand, because this plus Rise X are your only dual color sources. And then of course being able to gain the memory off of like having 3 or fewer security cards is really, really powerful. It punishes your opponent for being aggressive. Same theory with that is like TK card, like really, really punishes your opponent for chipping at your security. The worst feeling for them is like always just like they swing like a rookie into your security, and like the first check is TK card. That like anyone who's played against like the yellow hybrid like set 7 like knows that's like the bane of your existence. And then Cody, I think, is just like really broken in this deck. I kind of want to like try to make room for 4. If you guys have suggestions on what maybe your tamer lineup is, let me know. This is good because it's a guaranteed +1 memory, and then if you swing with a dual color yellow, or just like a dual color Digimon, you get to -2000. So you can actually trigger this off like a Dexmon, which is kind of funny. But then mainly like ShineGreymon X is what you're triggering this with. So this guy's really good. And then the 2 copies of Zoe, just to search out your hybrids and stuff like that. Is good for consistency. It's kind of the weakest tamer, but it's just a good consistency card to have. So that's going to do it for the tamers. And lastly, for the option cards, 4 copies of Sunrise Buster and 1 copy of Reinforced Memory Boost. Both these cards are ridiculously broken. This card's a 1 for a reason. You just got to play it in basically every yellow deck. Sunrise Buster is crazy, being able to circumvent most deletion protection effects, being able to simultaneously play a tamer and remove a Digimon, and get a tamer on play effect again, which is why TK is really broken in this deck. It's just like really, really crazy. So Sunrise Buster is definitely like the heart and soul of the deck. Being red-yellow is a little bit annoying, but for the most part, you've got the ability to be able to have dual color source on field, which is why I like Tai Kari is so good. And then of course in security, it just like bypasses that, so it's good regardless in security. But yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for the deck list for the ShineGreymon deck. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Go ahead, test it out. I think it's a really fun deck. If you want a yellow list to play that's that's a little bit slower paced and can do decent against some of the meta decks, go ahead and try this one out. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.